Welcome, everybody, to this next episode of Bite-Sized Pod. Today, we're going to discuss something very special, Metroid. So who's here with us to talk about Metroid.
It's not Justin Bailey, it's Corbin.
And you got Miggy, otherwise known as Mexican Squidward.
And you got Brother Brain, Ziggy. Let's get right into Metroid. The original Metroid release date was August 1986 in Japan for the Famicom Disk System. But then we got it about a year later in North America for cartridge, which also included a password system because the original Japanese had an ability to save. Little side detail. And we're also going to discuss Zero Mission as a remake and kind of hold it up next to each other, see the differences, pros and cons of both. And what changed really with a little over 20 years of time to think about what they would have changed to the original Metroid. Because that game came out in February 9th, 2004 in North America for the Game Boy Advance and in Japan on May 17th, 2004. But you can Wikipedia all that. So what about our history?
I think Zero Mission actually was the first Metroid game. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. I think it was the second Metroid game. I played Super Metroid first.
Are you lying on this podcast?
I am. We didn't have to. You didn't put in the oath that we took right before it started.
Never.
You cut that out. Yeah, so it's actually not my introduction to Metroid, but it was one of my first. I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
It's the excitement. I'm so excited you can.
No, I'm staring at this stinking little Metroids changing colors on that one graphic card.
Yeah.
And I was just like thinking about that. And I was like,
I like Metroid. Metroid don't like me.
All right, so this is my second game I played, but absolutely loved it. I didn't play the original first. That's what I was trying to get to. Zero Mission, absolutely loved it. My buddy let me borrow it. Yeah, just immediately fell in love with it. It's just, it was exactly the type of platformer that I was right up my alley. So that perfect blend.
Played Zero Mission first. It's not the first Metroid game I played, but I played that before the original Metroid because that was released a few years before I was born, and I was always behind the curve, so I didn't get to play the original one. I want to say until I played Zero Mission, because when you finish it, you have the option of having original Metroid and playing it there. So I think that's when I first played it. But yeah, I played this because a friend at school had it, and I started thinking, sorry, my mind went somewhere else, but I was like, did you guys have that same, you know how you would trade Pokemon cards? Would you ever trade games? Because I would do that a lot for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, that was a good way to play lots of games.
It's just trading games with another. And I don't think I ever gave it back, and I still feel bad to this day because I can't find the cartridge. That was a little on me for losing it, but mostly on him for trusting me.
That's great.
What was the first time you guys were aware of Metroid? For me, it was Super Smash Brothers. Just seeing Samus, I was like, "What is that from?" Like, is that the same for you guys?
The N64 one?
Yeah.
That was my first, like, she was just cool.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know she was a she.
I think I did.
Definitely
we played Melee a lot too. So that was GameCube era though, but I guess definitely by then. But I think I kind of knew it was a girl right away. I feel like there was some reference that it makes.
For me, it was like schoolyard talk. Everyone's like, "Well, you're playing that character, it's a girl." Like,
oh, maybe
like, I don't know what it's from. Cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't even know what it is. What's a Samus? I never heard of Samus. That's not a game.
Famous.
Yeah. So that was my first exposure to Metroid was Super Smash Brothers for N64. And then my mom brought home a box of just an old Nintendo and some Nintendo games over the summer from her school that the kids could play during the school year. But then it was summer break. So she's like, "Here, you can play these for like a couple months." I'm like, "Cool." So that's where I played a bunch of NES games for the first time. And one of them was Metroid because I was like, "Oh, cool. This character is really cool. Let me try this game." And it went over my head. I think I was like 6. I was like, this is kind of like there's nothing going on. Like I just went over my head because I didn't get it. I didn't get you were supposed to explore or adventure. By the time I'm like, Mario, you run to the end of the level.
Mhm.
In this game, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And I keep dying. So I was like, this
Like,
game kind of sucks.
that original
Like
game
honestly was
is
my
pretty
first
brutal.
impression.
It's
Yeah.
pretty brutal for a kid, like a young kid, you know?
Yeah. But
You
then
gotta-
for some reason later, I don't know why I tried it again and it clicked because I was a little older. I was like, this is really cool. Like I was like, oh, this is really different. Like, I don't know, just clicked later, I guess. I was probably like 13 the next time I played it. And I was like, oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, I guess I was playing it when I was like 11, like
Yeah.
Zero Mission. So that was kind of like I had played Super Metroid first. It was like it was only when I was over at my friend's house, so it wasn't, I don't even think I beat it. It was just like played some of it. So I was aware of what the style was, but Zero Mission was like the first one that I actually completed.
And this for me was my first time ever touching Zero Mission. Like it's a game I've wanted to play.
Yeah.
And you'll find out how I felt about it. But yeah, it was this was my first time playing it.
I actually don't even know if I knew it was a remake when I played it. Like I think
like they didn't really even present it that way.
Yeah. Like I didn't realize that. Like I mean, I was kind of like quasi aware of the like earlier, like I knew Super Metroid and I knew there was one on the NES, but like I don't even think I made that connection right away. It wasn't probably till much later that I was like, oh, Zero Mission is supposed to be a remake. It's a remake of the original.
So maybe we should get into what is Metroid? Obviously the character's name is Samus, but other people still on the internet still call it Metroid.
It's kind of like
some people less. It's become less. But does anyone want to try to explain what Metroid is?
I think that's Migtroid.
Metroid.
Yeah, I know Metroid.
I changed my name to Metroid.
That's pretty good.
I guess, and this is also very Wikipedia type of entry or type of a description of it, but it's a action adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the original Metroid is the first installment in the Metroid series, which would eventually lead to what people refer to as a Metroidvania style of games, which is a reference to, of course, Metroid and then Castlevania style of games. Mm-hmm. And I guess in its time, it was pretty groundbreaking to be one of the first video games to feature a female protagonist, which, by today's standards, it's nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary, but for 1986, which is not that long ago, or at least I say that because I don't want to feel old. It was pretty groundbreaking. And so Zero Mission, of course, being a remake of that same style of game, upgraded graphics, and then you get some added levels after you complete what was the original point of the game.
Yeah, so I was thinking like how remarkable that was. That what other games have an entire genre named after them? Like I couldn't think of anything, but that's just like remarkable to me that we don't call them Mario Vanias or Zelda's Vanias.
Like you
maybe because those have no ring to them, but
yeah. You compare stuff to it, but it's not an actual genre. Like
yeah, which I think is really unique. But like, what's the difference between a platformer and a Metroidvania? What would you guys say?
I think it is like the coolest mix. Well, there was like some interviews that I was listening to where they were talking about the development of it and how it was like a really cool mix of Mario and Zelda, like two of Nintendo's biggest games, obviously, on the NES. So, but like it has like the platforming that Mario has, but it has that kind of like non-linear exploration of Zelda as well. And I think it's like the coolest thing. Like as soon as you start the game and you just start moving right. Yeah. And then you hit a dead end almost immediately and you're like, so you like, what is the first thing you have to do is go left. And I feel like that just like, it's like such a perfect analogy for the series,
Yeah. It's like teaching you right away, like, okay, I need to explore and observe and overcome obstacles by getting power-ups because you go get the morph ball and then you can fit through that low wall. Like, like, and I think that's really genius planning, programming, environmental storytelling, whatever genre setup, that it's just like
such a simple solution to a problem.
And they taught you how to do it without it being punishing or unrealistic that you would figure it out. And the game just snowballs that, and it gets more and more difficult as the game goes on. And I think that's just really what makes this game so remarkable.
And I feel like it does it throughout the whole series, like in a lot of ways. It's really like that's what always draws me to it is like if you like platforming, you're gonna love this. If you love just exploration and like kind of like that adventure, like non-linear, just exploring the map too, you have that, and you have like all these cool, but it doesn't feel like cheesy, or it doesn't feel like it doesn't know what it's doing. It like has like a very clear, like simple focus. And
I think it does a lot of things very well that a lot of games could learn from, and I'm sure we'll get more into that. But just while it's on my mind, that the power-ups kind of act as like keys. You know, instead of just giving you a key that you had to find as a secret or something, they give you something that also benefits your survival in this alien world, you know? So I think that's really cool. I would like to see more of that kind of thinking in game development these days, where it's just like, and I think there are examples of that for sure, but just more of it, because I really enjoy that. Like, okay, you didn't just hand me a key, or I didn't just unlock a door, but I had to get stronger or find a power up that benefits me in other ways also. And if I backtrack, unlock secrets. So I think that's like so cool.
I think I remember like that first moment too, like, you know, you're kind of like exploring, you're like learning, oh, like, you know, I can shoot certain things, and okay, that breaks this, but it doesn't break that. And there's like that moment, like right, I forget what the first, I think you get morph ball obviously right away, and then you kind of, I think it's once you get bombs, like once you can get you know, use bombs in morph ball, that like opened up like a whole nother aspect of the game to me, where you're like, not only am I progressing, but now every time I'm walking around, I'm like trying to not just like look for parts that I remember from before.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like I'm trying to look at the map in a way that like I'm trying to think, oh, what else might I need to come back here for at some point? Like what other items might I get later in the game that I'll be able to access this or that? Like no other game has that. Like I don't know, it was like exciting that first time that it starts to click in your mind, you know, how that works. It's cool.
Yeah, I just think it does such a good job of teaching you like the game's language. It's like, okay, you got bombs, okay, now bomb everything.
Yeah.
You know, you got missiles, try to blow up that door that wouldn't open before, you know. So it's like, I love that kind of like, they don't tell you that
with no tutorial, no text bubbles that come up.
Usually, you'll fall into a situation or something that you have to use that new upgrade to get out of. Otherwise, you're just kind of stuck.
I don't think the original one uses it too much. It does use it, but later installments definitely take advantage of it, where there's things that are hidden, I guess, in the design, or blocks that you can, you know, shoot out of the way that aren't immediately obvious that you can get there, or invisible walls or things like that. But there's nothing to tell you that those things are there, how to get there or what to do. You're just left entirely up to yourself to figure out how to get those things. And then when you do, it's actually it's very accomplishing in what can be a very frustrating game. If it's the first time you play it and you have no idea what Metroid is, it can be very frustrating.
So that's in some ways what Metroid is. There's a lot more to it, but in some ways. But what is a Metroid? Does anyone want to tackle that topic?
Man, this is like trying to explain the whole story, huh? It really doesn't make any sense. This is start going to the pros and cons, like where's story gonna land?
Yeah.
So wait, do I have this right? Metroids were created by the Chozo to fight the X parasite. Was that gibberish?
You have
No.
part of it correct, I think. I always thought
I feel like
that
it was the
I always thought the Chozo used the Metroids. I think they did use it actually to fight the X in Fusion, but I think originally it was the space pirates that were experimenting on Metroids.
Well, I think the Chozo bioengineered them when they were on the planet first.
Oh, okay.
And then like later, the space
Pirates.
pirates got them to try to like weaponize them or whatever.
It's confusing.
It is. Also, I realized that I should have gone over all the names with you guys to make sure I was pronouncing them right, because
No.
we're definitely gonna get some
No.
planets or
We're
some kind of.
Okay, that'll be my purpose for these for this series of podcasts is to
the
purposefully
solution?
mispronounce everything.
Here's our first YouTube video. You ready? It's Metroid A to Z, and we'll use A is Iran, M is Metroid,
Aaron,
Yeah.
and
What are your
Metroid,
C is for Chozo,
Chozo.
Chazos, Chaz,
E
Kozos.
is for Zebes. We can do a whole alphabet book.
Yeah, Zebes.
Zebes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna purposefully mispronounce everything just to get on people's nerves.
Yeah,
Zebes.
you guys get the Zebes when you get scared, right? This game gave me the heebie-jeebie Zebes
Oh.
because it's
So
scary.
did you guys jump into like the lore at all, or like the story behind it?
Oh yeah, that was a big black hole for me.
Mm.
I went
Oh, yeah.
really into it.
I just
went-
played it.
I think
I was
went
like, I'm gonna
out
see
of
what
it.
the game tells me through environmental storytelling, and it told me a lot. I don't know how much of it is right. What I
I think
got
it
out of
tells
it.
you. I think it does tell you a lot. I looked up a little bit later, like after I played, because I wanted to do the same thing, and
Mhm.
I kind of thought it would line up exactly like this. Like Zach wouldn't look up anything. I would look up a little bit, and then Miguel would go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, the rabbit hole. Yep. That's pretty much how it goes.
So it kind of lined up. Exactly
yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just gonna depend on myself here. I don't know.
Yeah. But it will be interesting to see like what we got from the story and if it landed as a pro or con for us. I think
Yeah,
like
yeah.
being at different levels.
So then, should we try to give the listeners a little taste of what is the story? Like, what's going on in Metroid 1 in 1986? Like, who is Samus? Why
What's
is
this
she
first game
here?
about, Miguel?
What's that?
Miguel, what's this first game about? What
Bring
am
us
I doing?
bring us down the rabbit hole.
This first game is about lots of frustration and realizing, okay. Side note, I realized while playing original Metroid that's the reason why I've never considered myself good at video games, is because I grew up playing these types of video games, the ones that are ridiculously hard and make you feel like you don't know anything about anything and that you suck at video games.
Yep.
Give me very low self-esteem when it comes to playing video games.
It was a scheme so you would subscribe to Nintendo Power and get the maps.
Get those maps, yeah.
Don't feel bad about yourself. It's not your fault.
Speaking of Nintendo Power, that's something I miss. I miss the magazine and the game manual era of video games.
Mhm.
Because this
Oh,
is,
yeah.
in order to understand the story for original Metroid, you depend heavily on the game manual because the game tells you nothing
Mhm.
about what's going on. But the manual will tell you that Samus, you're a bounty hunter, Samus, and you're tasked with bringing back or destroying a Metroid that the space pirates have taken. That's it.
Yeah,
And
pretty
You
bad.
know it's a threat. You know, yeah. Go into this
Right.
alien planet.
Alien planet.
So,
Zebes.
is this her home planet or the one she was raised on, or is that a different one? I don't remember which one.
No, I think
Is that like
she
SR?
grew up in a colony.
This is where I get confused as to what not mother. You can see what's always on my mind is Earthbound. But other M, you see it's mother scrambled. I'm not completely ridiculous for that. Other M like added, which is not, it's canon. It's considered canon, right?
Oh,
But then what was added through that game, and then what was like there? You know,
Nothing-
I'm always getting that
nothing was-
blurred.
Really, nothing was added. In a lot of ways, it took from us.
It took
Story wise,
more than
it
what
took
it
from
gave.
us.
It hurt us.
Yeah.
I think it
Actually doesn't. It comes after this game. It's
Yeah.
but
It gives
What
a lot
it-
of backstory though.
what the story is, it's like she's like working. I forget where they are, in like a lab or something, or a space station, with like part of the galactic force.
Hmm.
So it's like with a unit, and like the commander that she knew from when she was in it, because she used to be in the Galactic Federation, whatever it's called. Is that Star Wars or is that this?
A little bit of both.
It's both. Both universes exist.
So like,
But one I really like, and the other is
yeah.
I'll let you decide which one I felt. But
I think I know. So like, it takes place after this game, but it's like all about what happened, like all her backstory, and it's just I don't know. It makes her really like whiny.
yeah,
And, like, she doesn't know how to deal with any problems. Like, she just is a different person. It's like, doesn't make any sense when you play the rest of the games. So it really focuses on a story that nobody wanted it to focus on. That's kind of the problem, I think.
Yeah.
And it didn't understand who Samus was. Like,
yeah.
it's just
Because
weird.
all I know is she was on a planet, and her parents died because of Ridley. They tried to protect her from Ridley, and then she was adopted by Chozos, and she got some of their DNA, and that's why she can use the morph ball and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
She got adopted by bird people, but didn't get any bird powers.
yeah.
That's
a little
real-
bit of bird power.
That's
But
a
you
real.
got a
legend.
You can do egg droppings, so they're not bombs.
They're eggs.
They're Banjo and
Eggs.
Kazooie eggs.
Well, basically, you're a bounty hunter.
You're
And that's kind of like the main thing. I feel
You're
like
captive.
once you start out knowing you're a bounty hunter, you're like, okay, like
You don't
pretty
need
much
anything
anything's
else.
up for grabs. Yeah,
Going to
You don't need
destroy
anything else.
aliens and space pirates.
yeah. It kind of gives her like a free pass to just start shooting. Like, you don't have to think
Yeah.
about like who
I
ties on who.
I do like that the game starts off and they talk about, some of those things, just very little. They give you like a paragraph, but you don't know, the game is called Metroid. You don't know what that is, what it looks like, or anything in this original game. And I think that's actually really cool. That's a unique thing to do that I wouldn't say really gets done anymore. And probably understandably, it's kind of a trope, but I think it works really good in this case. If you had never played this game in 1986, like, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
To just give it to you, you go find this thing that you don't know what you're looking for, which kind of fits that Metroidvania description
sure.
of like, go explore and try to figure out what in the world it is you're trying to look for and do.
Figure out what you're trying to look for.
Yeah, yeah, like, go, All right. So that's a little overview, or maybe an exhaustive overview of our Whoa.
Oh, I got
They're coming
busted.
for you, Corbin.
Uh-oh.
Dang it! All right, I gotta go.
No more bounty hunting.
Just mention it around here.
Yeah, you're bounty hunting bread, Metroid bread. So let's get into some pros and cons because this is going to be a pretty fun element of discussion. As per Corbin's really good idea, we're all going to pick our top pro and discuss those. Go ahead, Corbin. Let us know.
Well, honestly, it's a hard list to choose your top pro because I feel very strongly about a lot of these things being a pro, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think it's the music for me that is the top pro. And that has nothing to do with like, that's just because the music is that good. It is like part of the whole experience of Metroid and how it doesn't just get a song stuck in your head. It like literally like tells a story and it like evokes like emotions from you as you're playing the game. And it's fantastic. Just everything about the music.
What about you, Miggy?
Ooh, very tough between two. But I guess if I really gonna think about it, I think theme is probably the strongest pro for me. Not that in itself. I think it ties in a lot with story too. But I think Zero Mission and Metroid both do it, but in very different ways. The theme is kept the same in both games, but it's done very differently. Like in the original, you have a lack of background. And the only color you get is from enemies or from the different, I guess, caverns or what's on the walls in the different levels of the area, which is whether it was done intentionally or just because of limitations, time constraints, whatever, limitations on the Famicom or the NES. I think it's brilliant because it brings the focus away from whatever's happening in the background, just a black background. And you're focused more on enemies and getting through doors. And so in the theme of it being, the only humanoid on a planet, on an alien planet, having to fight your way through it, I think it does an excellent job with it. You have no assist from anybody else. You have random items or what seem to be random items left behind by somebody else that you're not, at this point, when you play the first one, you have no idea who left them there or why they're there. And Zero Mission does the same, but in a different way because it utilizes cutscenes to show or give a little bit more details in what's going on without having to have any type of dialogue at all. I think the only dialogue is in the intro of the game, when Samus is talking about this being her so-called Zero Mission or her first mission that she sent on after becoming a bounty hunter. And towards the end, where you're left alone with no weapons and having to infiltrate the space pirate ship, mothership, or whatever it is. But the cutscenes, like we have on the notes GIF or GIF. I know people are split on that, but I did say I was gonna specifically mispronounce everything. So a GIF of of one of the cutscenes when you encounter Ridley for the first time. Very simple, very short, very detailed though. The artwork's pretty good too. I'm sorry, I'm like stepping over a lot of things.
It's so good.
But it's all done to keep the theme of being alone and having to fight your way through this very, very hostile area.
I'm glad you said theme because I feel like that ties in so nice with music too. Like all that, like that whole setting is played off of that.
Yeah.
And I forgot like when the guy that did the music, what's his name?
Oh, Hip Tanaka.
Yeah, Hip Tanaka.
Hip, our buddy Hip.
Our buddy Hip. Yeah. Good old Hip. So when
we grew up together.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up with him. He didn't know.
Yeah. He was already grown.
Yeah.
But when Hip Tanaka was talking about like what he was trying to do with the music, he said when he was playing the game, he was trying to blur the line between like music and sound effects. And playing the game, he felt like the game was like a living organism. And that's what he was creating the music as. It like the music and the artwork and the theme, like that whole theme is like one cohesive thing that like kind of has like its own character. It has a life of its own within the universe of Metroid. So it's kind of like impressive the way even the original game does that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, especially like nothing else had been doing that in my opinion yet, just not in the same way.
I don't think so. Like not at that level. It's
no.
Yeah.
I think for me, I mean, the theme is really good. The music is really good. I'm not gonna argue either of those, but I'll pick something different. I think exploration, especially because I definitely am the type of person that I prefer pixel art to like 3D. And I still really like 3D, but there's not a lot of pixel art games that give me the same exploration feeling as this game. And I think that's just so cool to see a game do that. It's like it's committed to being 2D in a respect, especially these early ones. And it does it. I think it does exploration better than a lot of 3D open world sandbox games I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is because they use it to give you that feeling of like, okay, I'm not welcome here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go into unknown areas, and I think that they use that setting very well.
I think it's impressive because you're in an enclosed area the entire time. Like you have, even though you're on a planet, you immediately go into the planet and you're like immediately you have boundaries, the whole time. You feel like you're enclosed. So to still have that feeling, that I agree, it's like better than most open world exploration games that I play now.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did they accomplish that? Like, it's crazy.
Especially in the original Metroid, like the freedom you are given right away is actually overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's the reason when I played it as a kid that I was like, this game kind of sucks because I didn't grasp what it was giving me. I didn't,
The gift. I had no idea.
It was a gift.
That's true though. It's cool.
I don't think this was a game intended for kids at all. Like it was very, I wouldn't say like adults either, just a very mature type of audience.
It's psychological. When I play it, I get very psychologically involved in what's going on in the sense that I feel alone. I feel afraid. And I want to like succeed. I want to survive. Like I feel like endangered and desperate to survive.
That's true, because like most games that I get invested in, even the story, it's a way like I get invested in a TV show and I feel detached from that. Like I'm invested, but it's not like I'm not personally affected.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, you are like pulled into this game. Like even, just the original Metroid, you're just pulled in right away and you do like you feel part of it in a different way than you don't get that in a lot of games.
Yeah, like I think it's pretty cool. Like in Metroid 86, I'll call it. You can literally go fight Kraid or Ridley first. Yeah, and like even just that kind of freedom is really cool. And most of the power-ups aren't mandatory, which I also think
that's really cool to me.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Like the freedom it gives you is like insane. And in some ways, it's a little too much, but they still hit that sweet spot in a really good way. To me.
The original, or what's speculated to, and it's mentioned every time, the inspiration for Metroid being the movie Alien, which I haven't seen.
Oh yeah, how do we not mention that by this point? I forgot.
I think because it's so become its own thing.
That's true.
Like it definitely got heavy influence to start, but then it just ran with it in its own way.
No, yeah. Like it did an awesome job with it becoming its own thing. But it's
pretty sure there's some YouTube videos explaining how like the 4 main Metroid platformers follow the movies though.
And what there's the Metroid YouTube video for everything.
Yeah. What Metroid symbolize and everything. But I think it's interesting. Where the subject matter comes from, and even having inspiration doesn't necessarily limit you. Like I think I haven't seen the movie, but it's hard not to know it being so pop culture, or having been pop culture for a moment, of using those same like themes of isolation and survival, but brought into something different. So exploration is a big part of it. I wonder how you feel about backtracking though, because I know that's a very iffy subject for a lot of people who played Metroid. The amount of backtracking.
Me or Corbin?
Both of y'all.
Oh, that's fair. I think for me, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes I guess it could in other games. I think I pretty much enjoy like every part of the planet that, especially, maybe that's something that even Zero Mission does better than Metroid, is like each section feels so different. Like, and you can like each has its own personality a little bit, and the music always changes. You can always like each one has such a personality that like what I don't mind going back through the same spots, and I think it's rewarding for me because like I'll backtrack the same spot, like I'll go down the same hallway 6 times, but on the 7th time, now I have an item that just like or a weapon that lets me access something new, and it surprised even me, and I was like, okay, well, it's worth it. You know, it has enough. It kind of starts dipping into like the difficulty for me, like that section. But I think it's actually like an amazingly balanced game because it's so difficult, but like there's so many moments that are so rewarding like that. So it like is worth it to backtrack for me.
Yeah, it never feels impossible. It does that really well. It can be hard, but it never feels impossible to me. But as far as backtracking, I actually think going back to the psychological aspect, like mentally when I'm playing the game, it feels really good to backtrack. Like in my brain, I'm getting like endorphins to go back with more power-ups and be more powerful. And then like the whole theme is you're in this planet, you're not welcome there. You're in danger. So I love that feeling that it makes you feel so uncomfortable and unknown. But then once you're more powerful, you get more power-ups, you go back to those places that were unknown, but now they're more familiar and you're more powerful. And that feels really good. It actually feels like kind of welcoming in like a weird way. But I think the game does that psychological thing really well, where it's like you're not backtracking just for like the sake of it or just because they tell you to. Like it's not busy work often. But
Is Zero Mission the one? I don't know how I got this confused right now. Like with that larva that crawls through the tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, that is one of the coolest things. Like
I love that.
Like stuff like that is amazing. Where you're backtracking and it's like I don't know, even though like you backtrack and like just something looks a little off, you know? Like something you've passed before and you're like, something's different. You know what I mean? Like there's that larva or whatever that you pass, and then it's like when you come back later, it's moved.
Yeah.
You come back later and it's moved a little further. You might not even notice it like the first time, but like you backtrack enough that like you're starting to notice things are changing, and it like builds that like tension in the game that you're just like, oh man. So then it like makes you excited and also like a little like you're cautious backtracking. Like I feel like there comes a certain point where you think about it before you like enter certain rooms. You like stop and you're like, wait a minute. You know, there's like that moment right beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. Like not in a way that like you're actually scared, just like in a way like that you're that invested in it. Like you're not thinking about backtracking. You know, you're not bored.
Yeah. What do you think of backtracking, Miggy?
I think
is it a good word or a bad word?
It's a bad word. Number 13.
Yeah.
I think in the original, it's not as rewarding. I think Zero Mission does a way better job with this. But in the original, it might be like graphic limitations or the lack of a map or I don't know what, the difficulty in it. But it's very, very frustrating to backtrack in that game.
I actually disagree. I think in Zero Mission, like that was one of my biggest cons. Like once I, when I was playing the game, I was like, this game is impeccable, 10 out of 10. But then I stopped.
Oh, Zero Mission?
What's that?
You're saying Zero Mission or the original?
But then Zero Mission. But then like I played a little more of the original Metroid and was having fun with that. And then the map and the blinking light, like always telling you where to go, and then more power-ups restricting where you can go. I felt like some of that original emotion Metroid, the 86 gives me, was kind of gone. Like I love Zero Mission still, but I just felt like it felt a little more busy, the backtracking in Zero Mission. It was still fun. And actually like the secrets they added in Zero Mission were like incredible. Like I do think it got that right, but the actual like pacing of the gameplay, I think I prefer 86, which is interesting. I wouldn't have expected that when I first finished Zero Mission. I was like, yeah, I don't ever need to play 86 again. But now I actually feel like everybody should still play it, because that's kind of what happens once they make a really good remake, because it just becomes like this is the one to play. Don't even worry about the old one. But I actually think there's like good reason to play 86. That one. Yeah. But here's the thing is I do agree with you that it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to hide that fact that it is frustrating.
I agree with you though.
But I do think
you definitely should play both.
But do you guys think, this was my question I wanted to ask you guys, do you think Zero Mission overcorrected or not? Or do you think it was just like the sweet spot?
Man, if you think Zero Mission overcorrected, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Fusion. No.
I have a lot of thoughts on
There's
Fusion.
No,
I think-
okay. Oh, go ahead, Miguel.
I think so. With 86, it's for me, anyways. The experience was frustrating in that regard. That the backtracking is not as fulfilling as it is in Zero Mission. Because here's one part where I don't think it overcompensated. Is that it made good use. Of a lot of things that became frustrations in the original. The original is way more brutal. It's a lot tougher in terms of skill.
Oh yeah,
You need a lot of skill for that game.
Yeah.
So again, like Corbin mentioned too, it's definitely worth, especially if you think you're good at video games. I think this is.
I don't think I'm good, but yeah, I agree. If you think you're good at them,
No, we hear you bragging. Okay.
If you think you're good, this one will probably humble you a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think Zero Mission overcompensated. Because it makes better use of what technology was able to bring to the table. And it's hard to think that a game like on a handheld game could look a lot better on something that's supposed to have a little bit more power, a little bit more. But Zero Mission looks way better than 86.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
artwork.
artistically, oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The backtracking is used as a plot device too, because it progresses the story. Even though it feels like you're physically moving back, it moves the story forward.
I think my meaning of like it being overcorrecting is like I didn't like the you have to use the Chozo statue. You have to get told where to go, and it blinks. Like you have to like consciously choose to ignore those things, and 99% of players aren't going to. When they play it, they're just gonna say, "Oh, on the map there, that's where I go," and they go there. That's what I mean by like an overcorrection.
Yeah,
whereas like
saying, like there was a lot of quality of life upgrades, but like that was one that didn't need to be upgraded.
Yes, like the quality of life upgrades, absolutely. Like the gameplay, the mechanics. I mean, you can shine spark, you can wall jump, you can bomb jump, you can look at an actual map. You know?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Zach.
Yeah, but the blinking guiding, like I didn't want it to hold my hand through the planet.
Yeah, I think that was an overcorrection. Yeah. And I think it was almost a way to play more on the Chozo, like that lore. Like they were trying to incorporate that a little bit more. I
could see that. Yeah.
But I do think that it's just like a touch handholdy. In a way that it didn't need.
I think it'd be even cool if you could just at the beginning get the option. Like, do you need a little help?
That's true. Yeah, like
maybe you KO like, 3 times or die 3 times, and it's like,
do you want
to kind of give a little hint? You know?
Yeah.
But those are later.
Maybe like if it blinked, but it didn't stay on your map. It's like right when you die, you come back and it blinks on your map, and then it goes away.
That could be cool.
So, it's like a reference, but it doesn't just stay there like pulsing, you know?
Yeah. And I think by no means does it ruin the game. I just think it changes the way the game feels. I think it feels so good.
I see what you're getting at, but it didn't do that for me because it didn't bother me. Like, I'm not the kind of player that was staring at that. Like, I did what I wanted anyway. And I knew that was where I needed to go when I wanted to progress something. So I don't think it was enough. Like, I think it was just that one thing. So I don't think it's enough to say that Zero Mission completely overcorrected. But I think that was the only thing. Like, I agree. That was like the one thing that they didn't need to do. And they did for some reason. But yeah, I think it's still worth it for the quality of life.
Oh, no, it's incredible. I just think it what it does,
it like waters it down just a hair.
And not even waters it down, because I would still give it, like, if I had to score it, I would give it a really good score because it's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it just, and this is okay, but it just means people shouldn't also overlook 86. Yeah, because I've heard that's kind of the reputation. Play Zero Mission. You don't ever have to touch that one again. But I actually disagree, because I think they're both on their own merit really cool. But my only complaint with it is that people will just do Zero Mission and be satisfied. and be like, oh, I'm good.
I actually think it works exactly the way it is on Zero Mission, where you beat the game and then you unlock the old Metroid. I think that's actually perfect. Like, unlock it and then just play it, after you play Zero Mission. I actually think that might be if somebody was asking me now, like, which one to start with, I would say start with Zero Mission.
I do, yeah.
And then play the original.
And then play the original. I think it's true because I don't mind the blinking light because if it's your first exposure to a Metroid game, it's needed. Otherwise, you feel very overwhelmed. You can feel complete. And both games are kind of products of their time, where in 86 you have a manual to kind of guide you through some of the things that aren't explained in game. This one, Zero Mission, doesn't have that. And so it utilizes a lot what's on screen to tell you or indicate. But it doesn't lock you in to where you need to go. It doesn't break the, I guess, open world type of feel to it. Because you don't necessarily, although that's your next objective, you don't need to get there. And I definitely did that a couple of times where after, having been assigned a new objective, I would break out of sequence and go find another Chozo statue. And it doesn't affect the way the game reacts at all. Like, you can definitely do that. You're limited if you don't know the game. Like, if you don't know about wall jumps, you don't know about Shine Spark.
Wait, wall jump? What?
Yeah. Like make walls jump.
But I do think like they like what I thought was really cool in 86 is you can go tackle Kraid or Ridley. But in Zero Mission you can't do that without sequence breaking, without like tricking the game basically. So I just think there's just a few things.
It's not a linear game, but it's like more linear than
it's more linear. And I see what Miguel's saying too, and I agree that like if it's your first Metroid game, it does help. But
I totally agree with you. There's like a certain magic that original has of being so open that it's really hard to replicate.
And honestly, like too, I think like it's still cool we have both. Like even though I have my complaints,
kind of like a win-win.
I have my complaints about both, right?
Yeah.
But I really love both, and I think it's really kind of like I don't want either one to go away. I guess that's all I'm really saying is for people that just feel like Zero Mission is enough. I do think it's fun to dip your toe into the 86 one and just like see that it gives you a different feeling.
Yeah,
both give you a really cool feeling.
Like, I think both have like I actually feel that way about every game in this series. Yeah, like it's whether it's an original or a remake. I feel like every game has its niche in this series, and they all do something just a little different. So like in a way, some games have that problem where like Mario, where it's like they just stick to that formula, and when they vary, it's like what, why did you do that? But Metroid, it's the same general concept, but I feel like each one does have its own niche in a way, where you can appreciate each one for where it is. And if there's something you're not crazy about in one game, you're probably crazy about the other game,
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
I think that is cool, like about Metroid is there's kind of like a Metroid for everybody.
And it's funny because like I did enjoy like Chozodia and all that, like the ruins and like that was cool. Like all those additions.
Oh my goodness, that whole thing,
the whole
mission it added is like
the whole epilogue was
amazing.
Like oh my goodness. I think I was texting you guys. I was like I was wigging out. I was like, this is incredible. Like and I still have those feelings, but
I mean can we just like say like Zero Mission is how you do a remake though? I'm surprised we're even doing Metroid, to be honest, but
it's just we're doing Metroid because it's selfish. It's like I want to play all four before 5 comes out, and so it's the only way I'm gonna get that done.
Exactly.
I think Zero Mission does a lot of good things over original, just because, and I think the reason why it's unfair to compare both is because they both have different technologies available to them. So obviously Metroid having the advantage of several years. Let me see how many it is. Almost 20 years. 20 years of advancements in technology, which was right in the middle of a big technological boom when the 90s happened. And
that's really funny to think about the Game Boy Advance 20 years ahead of anything.
Now it's 20 years behind everything.
I love the Game Boy. I think
it's so good.
No, I think it's my favorite system, to be honest.
I prefer it over a lot of things, but
like handheld or not.
Oh yeah. You know what Zero Mission does really good though? Saving.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Which, the Japan version got anyways, but
But yeah,
it is definitely really nice.
the
It's like,
NES
Not in
version.
America.
yeah.
Not in America.
Not
We're
in
not
Yeah,
good enough.
saving is pretty. That's probably one of the biggest quality of
Saving
life
is a very
improvements
good pro.
after a certain point, right?
Also, boss battles.
Oh man.
Boss battles are
Yeah.
Wait,
good.
what do you guys think about the bosses in this game?
It's fun. It's just pure joy,
Right?
Yeah,
I love
I had a
it.
blast.
I was actually like thinking about this, like the sprites for Ridley and Kraden. Kraden?
Kraden.
Kraid.
Right.
Maybe his full name is Kraden.
Is Kraden
His
from
professional name is Kraden.
His
No,
LinkedIn
isn't it
profile
Kraden
says
from,
Kraden.
isn't it from what's that from? Like Solid Snake or something? Am I getting this confused with
I
another
could totally see that though. I don't know.
Kraid? That's why I said we should have gone over these names beforehand.
No. We're gonna mispronounce every single
We're gonna
one.
make the internet angry because it's
Wait, you're
fun.
leaving this in?
You know,
Oh,
I-
definitely.
This is a
Oh.
podcast where
Oh, I have it written down too.
This
That's
is-
awesome.
this is a podcast where nobody asks for our opinions, but they're getting them anyways,
But they're
whether
getting
they
them.
like them or not.
Shoved down their throat. So
The algorithm's
actually,
gonna
we're
show
not-
this is where everybody just like stop playing the episode.
Skip. So what was I thinking about? Kraid and Ridley, like the two iconic bosses. I was thinking about their sprites, and I was thinking how funny they looked on the original, right? Because they're like the
Mhm.
same size as you.
Oh, they're so funny.
and they're basically like Koopas, like they're like little Bowser's, like
Yeah.
like Kraid is literally
They're like
just
Hammer
a
Bros.
Koopa.
They're just
And he's
throwing body
hammers,
parts at
and I
you.
was like, is this Mario though?
Yeah.
But I was like, it actually makes way more sense to me that they're space pirates though in that original game. Because like you think about like space, like when I was thinking about pirates, like you're going against like these space pirates that are like stealing and all this stuff, and then like you just come across these gigantic like monsters. Like the way they're portrayed later.
That's
it-
true. That makes
it does
no
not seem
sense
like-
for a space
It makes
pirate.
no sense, and I love those boss battles. Like those are so much fun too.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, but I was just thinking about how funny that was. That the original actually was probably more realistic in a way.
Yeah.
Like it probably made more sense.
That's a good point, because I never think about like the new versions that we have of Ridley and Kraid. I never think of them as highly intelligent beings. I just think of them as
No,
monsters.
They're
But
like just
they're
monsters,
No.
but they're space pirates.
yeah, they're space pirates. They're
Yeah.
very intelligent.
They can
Those are weird.
probably fly a ship, which is
Like-
really a funny thought.
Isn't Ridley like a commander or something? Like that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He just shoots fireballs.
What? He's just breathing fire and like.
But every other space pirate has a suit, little lobster
Yeah.
claws. But
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
have
It doesn't look like a monster.
They shoot
Well,
crinkle
actually,
fries at you.
they kind of look like monsters
You know?
too.
yeah.
But they're not
But
like
that's true.
they're not
Kraid's
like
making-
Godzilla monsters or anything. They're just
Yeah, the
they're just like
kaijus,
aliens.
Kaiju, which as side note, I'm really psyched that Kraid is making the comeback.
Dude,
Spoilers.
that was so cool. I can't wait.
Now he's a hostage.
Yeah,
He's not a
game's gonna be
space pirate
so
anymore.
legit. My hype is like at dangerous levels, like, and I don't think I'm gonna be disappointed.
No, I don't think we can be at this point.
I don't know. It's Nintendo. It always finds a way
I
to
would really be surprised though, but I don't know.
cautiously.
I feel like
Actually-
most of their most disappointing games are genres I really don't care that much. I mean, games I don't really
Yeah.
care that much about, and I'm relieved. Like, yes,
Yeah. Actually, some of my worries about Metroid Dread will probably come up in our next episode about Samus 2 and specifically the remake.
the remake. Yeah.
So, as a little
Ooh,
preview.
ooh.
Yeah.
I have very strong opinions on that game too. Oh, one thing I did want to mention,
Yeah.
on bosses, which I think is super cool. I never noticed it. I had to watch a YouTube video and then try it out for myself just to verify it. But I never noticed it. It's something very, I guess, subtle. But when you encounter Ridley, you have to approach the door. So you go through that, I guess, the place where you fight him first. You get to a Chozo statue, and then you backtrack because there's nowhere else for you to go. You have to reach the locked door on the other end and then turn around for Ridley to come out. And so that's where that little cutscene in Zero Mission comes in, where Samus
It
looks
flies
back.
down at you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I never noticed playing it. I had to watch a YouTube video and then try it out for myself. Because if you try it at any other point to look back or to try to bypass that, you can't. You have to turn around before Ridley comes in.
That's
So
kinda
that
cool.
cutscene can activate. Which is brilliant. I think it's something very subtle, but it's awesome the way it's
Yeah,
done.
it's just like that environmental storytelling. Like, it's just so good.
Man, there's a lot of love put in this game. There's all these little touches, you know?
From this list of the pros and cons, we really were pretty positive on this game. Do we have like any like overwhelming con? Because I had to like really think
You-
about and
you
find the
kinda-
con. You
I
know,
think we
like
mentioned like a little bit of a con with the remake, just like a little
but just
bit,
it's not even like
but
huge.
it's not even like a
deal
whole
breaker.
factor of the game, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, there really isn't any cons, like big cons for me. I don't even know if there's anything like I feel like it nails everything for
Yeah.
me, like the original and the remake in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
I think the original is hard to recommend to people. Like, I want to, and I still do it, but it is definitely very punishing.
Yeah, I guess
If you
maybe the
just watch
difficulty.
like a tutorial or something, which just like takes the fun out of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You start off 86 with not full health.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
or something like
To every
off the
speedrunners,
bat.
Just to
dismay.
give you like an idea of how it's going to be, you know?
Yeah,
But it's
It'll
great.
keep
yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe just like that entry, like the difficulty to get started,
Mhm.
it could kind of vary. Like if you're talking about the original,
Depends on who it is. I'm
depends on
recommending
who
it
it
to.
is, but that would only be the.
I think
It is brutal.
I think completion, if you're one of those types of people, I really don't. It doesn't affect me if I get 100% completion,
No.
but it is very. If you complain about backtracking just
Mm-hmm.
in through the original run of the game, in order to get completion, you're gonna be very, very, very.
Yeah, because you tried that this
yeah.
time, right?
Oh yeah, I tried.
Oh,
I tried
yeah.
with cheats to try
Oh
to
man,
completion, and even then, it was it was impossible for me to
Yeah.
get completion.
I'm really happy though. I got like, this is the best I've ever gotten at Shine Sparking. So that was really fun to me because it's
that's
like,
cool.
I
Yeah.
always try to get like just more consistent at it, and I'm like, man, I
Mhm.
suck at this. But this
Yeah.
was like the best I felt like I ever did. It was really fun.
Zero Mission and Fusion are two of the only games that I've got 100% on.
That's impressive.
Man.
It was not anywhere. I mean, this was at a time where I had a lot less going on too. So
Yes.
how I long for that day.
It's still
That's
very
awesome.
impressive. I think that's the only thing. If you don't like backtracking, you're not gonna like any Metroid game if you don't enjoy backtracking.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe backtracking too a little bit, like because you might not be super into exploration, so it's going to be hard to recommend if you don't like it.
If you don't like to just the punishment, like, I don't mind that. I don't mind when a game is like, as long as it's not impossible or like broken. Like if it just doesn't work because it's not programmed well, that I don't like. But I don't think this game is really fully that way. It's pretty well programmed. It's
Honestly, I think that like everything, like I feel like part of the reason we don't really have too many cons and everything's kind of a pro is because how cohesive everything is. And I think that was like what stood out to me for like when we think about like something other games can learn from it is like every aspect of this game is not like isolated. Like everything works with each other. And you can tell like there was a lot of thought put into how the game feels as a whole. Like how
Yeah.
everything was cohesive together and played off of each other.
yeah, it's kind of like a giant Rubik's cube that like by the end of it you got it. And it feels
And I think
really
that's
good.
why like everything kind of works. Like there's really not too many cons is because it's like so cohesive.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to have like a lot of I guess you don't really need to have like a lot of crazy strengths or like going way out of the box, but if your game is just cohesive, it's like it adds like a special like kind of spark to
It's
it,
sad
you know?
how big of an ask that is though somehow.
Exactly.
It's like in your game just makes sense.
It
Like
just makes sense. Like
that would be nice.
just different mechanics working together and it doesn't
don't
feel
know.
like yeah. It really does feel like it was made by like one person, you know?
Like
Yeah,
it was
wow.
their passion project or their
Even though it
thought.
wasn't like one person, obviously, but like
Yeah.
you can tell just everybody was on the same page.
Yeah,
Like
they were
they all
passionate
had the
about it.
same, they had the same goal, they had the same vision.
Probably felt pretty good to make. Like I mean I love, I'm a Nintendo fanboy, but it's very different from everything else out at 86. Ice Climbers,
Yeah.
and Balloon Kid,
Honestly,
Mario.
even by today's
Like
standards,
it probably felt really fun to make something like this. Very epic. I could see the team being very passionate, and I think that comes through in the final product. So then, final thoughts. What do you guys say? Metroid or Zero Mission? What's your preference? Like they're both good.
overall, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we already talked about that. You can't count either of them off outright.
Yeah.
I'd say play both, but Zero Mission.
Yep, same. Try both. Like I said before, especially if you think you're good at video games, try 86. But I really value story in a video game when it's done well. So for that reason too, for me, it's Zero Mission.
I would say if you want like a comfy adventure that just feels really good to play and it's fun, Zero Mission. If you want like an experience and like a challenge, 86. And so I think that's really cool that they have both to offer, but I think I have to go with 86.
86. Yeah.
Like if I can only have one,
yeah,
give me 86. If I'm going to recommend to other people, I'll probably be like play through Zero Mission and then try 86.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's
play
like
86. I mean, play Zero Mission first.
I kind of think it's the definitive way to play Metroid.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely become that.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. And I think that's inevitable with a remake. There's always going to be like, this is the way to play it.
Yeah.
I
do think it's rare to just nail it as a remake. This like Zero Mission just nails it though.
Yeah, they really do. And that epilogue, we really didn't even get into that because people should just enjoy that for what it is.
It's so
that is so fun, especially once you get your suit back and you're just a beast. It's so fun to run through everything. The planet.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I will say about it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really cool that no matter how powerful you get in the game, even if you completely max everything out and have every weapon, it's still not just like a cakewalk. It still balances everything. And part of that is because of the platforming aspect. And part of it is because of like the enemies, like the balancing. But it is balanced very well. And I think that still shines in the epilogue too. Like no matter how powerful you get, it's still not just like a gimme.
It doesn't hand you the game.
I think something that you mentioned, Zach, about remakes is something that I feel with, and I'll go into way more detail when we get to that episode. But with Super Metroid, I think for a lot of people that they have in their mind like a definitive end all be all of a series or of a type of video game or of a genre of a video game. And I think it's when you have such a good game, it's a very double-edged sword because it can put that type of idea into people that if you're not playing this, you're not getting the full effect, which is not the case.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you need to have both type of experiences to it. So,
and I think as a fan, not to cut you off, that's just fun. Like it's so fun to like enjoy a game like Zero Mission and then be like, how did they how did they interpret this? This is not
Yeah.
the same team working on it.
I think that's why it's cooler to play Zero Mission first, is because you kind of do that reverse engineering thing. Like, where did they get this from? You know,
Yeah.
like when you realize it's a remake.
Yeah. I think I didn't realize, like Corbin said earlier, I didn't realize this was a remake when I first played it until after the fact, just because it really does feel like its own thing, very, very different from the original. But yeah, I think it's worth the time playing Zero Mission. Metroid can't be left out either. I personally, I love the lore of Metroid and all the theories, all the backstory to it. I absolutely love it. So that's why, for me, if I had to pick one or the other, it'd have to be Zero Mission, because it does a little bit more story building in that sense.
For sure, it does.
But that's the only reason why I would pick it over original Metroid. I think gameplay.
I think I'm close in the sense that, like, I think Zero Mission just feels really good to play. Like, the Game Boy Advance is, like, to me, like, my ideal pixel platform. Like, it just, everything that's on that, it has the power to sustain that type of art style and gameplay, and I really, really like that. And that's why, like, it's really close for me, because I do think, like, the actual, while you're playing Zero Mission, just feels really good. It feels good to control Samus, the character, you know. It's like, I think that's cool.
I think that's the perfect ending. It just feels good. Metroid, it just feels good.
Yeah.
I remembered how I played Metroid 86 for the second time, if anybody cares. It was because you could get games in Animal Crossing for the GameCube that were NES, and it had the emulator.
Right. That's where I played it.
The last hour, like,
yes.
How did I play it a second time?
I forgot. That's how I played it too.
That was like amazing. That was how I got into emulation. I was like, how did they do this? How did they get these old games into Animal Crossing? And then I learned how to do it on my own computer. And
I forgot that was it. So that was so good. That was so epic of them.
It was so awesome, man. Any final thoughts on Zero Mission / Metroid 86? I feel like
my final thought is just, I'm very happy we have all of these.
Yeah.
They all have their strengths and weaknesses in a lot of ways. I really don't think there's that many weaknesses, but it's just, I'm just happy we have all the options.
Oh yeah. I am so excited we're doing this. I'm playing all four Metroid before we get to the fifth one, because I didn't realize this until Corbin and I talked about it. This is my favorite game series, like, ever, and I never gave it a second thought, but I absolutely love it. Going back through it brought back a lot of nostalgia, but it made me appreciate the games a lot more. And I think as we go through each one specifically, like, I'll point out stuff that I didn't think about before, or I didn't appreciate when I was younger, but I definitely do now.
Well, thank you all for listening. We want to continue to do this podcast, and the one way that's possible is through our Patreon. So we want to give a shout out to Jonathan Chang. He's our Patreon right now, our lone Patreon, the homie. He's a supporter. So I want to give him a thank you. Also, if you are interested in supporting the show, you can check out our Patreon. Also, we want you to keep playing games with us. We're checking games off our list that we've wanted to play for a long time or haven't played in a long time. Next, we're going to be playing Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. That's going to be an interesting topic of discussion. So if you enjoyed this binge of Metroid 1 Zero Mission, come back for that one. So thank you all. heebie jeebie Zebes, Zebes planus Zebes.
Zebes.